We're live. That speaks for you. This is the MindPod Network first gathering of the tribes, right?
Is there anyone even in here right now?
No. This is just us broadcasting live on a page on YouTube and Google+.
To the void. This seems
this is
our own little reality, but if there is, maybe there's one person out there that is by chance just, you know, tuned in here. So I'm Raghu Marcus, and right next to me, my mind-rolling partner, David Silver.
Hello.
Thanks. And then we have Noah Lampert with the Ohm sign, and last but not least is Arnold Theorem. Is that your name, sir?
Theorem.
Thrym.
Okay, yeah,
I'm so sorry. Yeah, Mr. Thrym has joined us today from the planet Pluto, where he resides most of the time. He also does
Oh my God! Wait, hold on, you guys. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Oh wait, I see what's happening. Okay, I had it running at the same time and thought there was this. There's a weird. lag.
Yeah, it's gonna be delayed. If you're watching in YouTube, it'll.
Don't watch yourself on YouTube. That's crazy. Okay.
I didn't mean to.
Is it switching back and forth between us when we talk, or is it just my face?
Yeah, no, it's switching back and
forth. Oh, okay, good. Because I just see me.
All right, so meanwhile, we're waiting for people to join us today so that we can be asked some relevant questions around, you know, why the fuck is it so difficult day to day to live in this world of ours? Actually, just Ram Dass said, we're working on a lecture of Ram Dass's. It's about it's the title of it is something like what to do when the shit hits the fan. So we'd love to take some questions about what to do when the shit hits the fan, kind of, you know, that kind of. What do you do when the shit hits the fan, Mr. Thrym?
It's never happened to me. I keep my shit away from fans.
Yeah.
I just tweeted it, so can you tell if people are in the room, Noah?
Yeah, we have 0 viewers right now. What I'm going to do is blast this out on a couple channels and see if we can get some viewers. So this should work pretty quickly.
We only need one.
We had one, and then they left, so apparently we're not...
That's really... That's
well, that there was one. I'm going to put it out right now.
Another one. We'll get one. Yeah.
No, we'll definitely, people will eventually watch. It's not the question. It's when.
Okay, well, that's all right. Listen, we're just going forward. Whatever happens, happens, okay? All right?
Okay.
Are you with us, Duncan?
Hello?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Are you with us?
I'm with you, yes. I have to unfortunately leave in about 15 minutes because I haven't walked the dogs yet.
Well, that's... Dogs?
12 viewers.
My little
people are actually watching.
There we go.
We
Hello.
Hi, everybody. We're very happy you joined us, and we're going to have a quick conversation.
24. We're doubling.
Before Duncan has to walk his dogs, is there not some call a dog walking service for now? Can't you?
Like there's a 911 for dog walkers.
There should be.
That's
there should be an app.
idea.
There's an idea for a business.
It's a 3-1.
That's free. Someone can run with that.
Yeah.
So how can they test out asking us questions?
Okay, so if you
how
want
do we interact with these people?
Yeah, if you want to ask questions, what you do is go to Google+. So what we can do is we'll tweet out, I know no one uses Google+, but we can tweet out a link for people to go and access this and ask questions for. So all you'll really need is a Gmail account to ask questions right now. Or you can just ask questions to any of us on any social media sites, and we'll see those as well.
Okay.
Yeah,
but they can't do it through YouTube. That link that you gave me is just to watch it on YouTube.
Yeah, so if you came to this because you saw what Duncan tweeted and you're watching on YouTube, what you want to do is go to Google Plus and watch this. So when you go to the page, there should be an option to click it. Then you just access this exact same thing from Google Plus, and there's a Q&A app where you can ask questions. So I'm going to open that and see if anyone asks.
Oh, you got a bad buzz. You have to back off. Something's happening. You're doing something to your computer, creating a buzz.
Okay.
Okay. Can I start with a question?
You know what you should do is introduce yourself for all the people here, because they don't know, because you guys don't have our awesome lower thirds. So for those of you guys so introduce yourselves, the host of the Mind Rolling podcast, so folks know what's happening.
I thought we already did that. I'm Raghu Marcus. Well, I'm Raghu Marcus, and this is David Silver right next to me. And Dave and I do this great thing called Mind Rolling Podcast, and we are happy to join with our buddies Noah Lampert and Duncan Trussell, a.k.e. Arnold Thrim. We are about to launch the Mind Pod Network, which is going to bring together a bunch of different podcasts around consciousness, culture, social action, and whatever else comes to our minds in the moment. And we have invited some really incredible people who are authors, teachers, spiritual teachers, etc. So this is the launch, really, of Mind Pod Network. And we were talking to Duncan, and we said, listen, it would be great if we had some of our audience, collective audience, interact with us. It would be a different kind of a podcast where we could relate with whatever subjects they wanted to discuss or questions and so on. So therefore is the reason for this.
And I'm happy to say that we have 2 questions that came in.
All right, let's see them.
The first is Dan Marine says, yo, E3 is going on right now. It might be hard to get a lot of viewers, which is an astute point. So there's video game stuff happening. Now there's a lot more questions. They're coming in. One says, should I buy cookies right now? The other one says...
No. The THC in these cookies is way off the charts. People are...
They got to know...
Maureen Dowd of the New York Times wrote a whole...
Well, yeah, they're trying the packaging.
She ate one.
Maureen Dowd is a coward.
Yeah, well, the thing you told me is you got to use shake. You can't use buds. If you use shake, you don't get freaked out. If you
use it all. Use it all. Use keef, use buds.
You shouldn't admit to that.
I'm just saying, theoretically, if one were to do this is not an endorsement, or if it's illegal, don't do it. That's implied.
Oh, yeah.
Please.
That's implied?
Yeah. That's supplied.
Here's another question, too. We have another one. They're coming in fast and furious now. Michael Innes asks, this is a serious question, what is the best advice for a 23-year-old trying to find his way?
Okay. Well, that's if you're 23, if you're 93, you know. We constantly are restarting something we started. We have to keep reminding ourselves. One of the things I would say, who am I to say anything, but I'm saying this, is that no matter what you think you know, you got to keep at it. You know, you got to keep practicing, just like a great guitar player. You know, Jimmy Page has been playing the guitar for 57 years and still feels he has to practice all the time. And Zeppelin did quite well, really. And he says emphatically that you got to practice. So if you take that analogy and say spiritual practice, I hate the word because sometimes it puts people off. But if you want to learn how to meditate, you got to do it every day. I'm still doing it after years and years and years, still learning, still failing, but knowing that if you just stop at whatever you're passionate about, what gets you through the night, it might not get better. So practice, rehearse. You know, that's what I would say. Unless you're a serial killer, in which case you should stop, like immediately.
No, even serial killers should practice. Serial killers these days, are washed out, man. In the old days, serial killers wore beekeeper outfits. They put time into their work. Now you just go out with a knife or a gun, and that's it.
Who is wearing beekeeper outfit?
No one antagonizes police anymore. What happened to that? Remember when serial killers used to antagonize the police? Nothing. Practice whatever you do. If you're a serial killer, at least be a good one.
All right, forget that. Okay, cancel.
I have another question.
Wait, I want to answer one more thing to that other question.
Okay.
Just to have some kind of levity here, or anti-levity, is to say, that, yeah, practice. I mean, David's thing is absolutely correct, and it's what you're practicing. You're practicing not getting completely shut down every day by your mind and your emotions. You just let you follow around like they're the end of the world, and end up into a depressed mess. So practicing the things that can give you leverage over that needs to be done on a daily basis. That's a good one. Next.
All right, next question we have from Mitch Von Holtum is, I have a question. Have any of you guys ever experienced intense vibrations in the spine, crawling skin, psychedelic visuals, or left your body while meditating? I personally have experienced all of those and get them almost on a daily basis, which I'm glad other people do too, because I've asked a lot of people, and sometimes people think I'm crazy because they don't know what I'm talking about. And the way I would describe it, the best way, what I experience, is kind of like a prolonged sense of the chills that starts in the base of the spine and then goes up, out through the body. And I've been getting that for 10 or 15 years. And it started after a psychedelic experience on LSD. And so yes, me, I have had those.
You? Noah?
Yeah.
Oh. Yeah, okay. Well, so we've all had that on acid or on some psychedelic or something.
Yeah, it sounds like acid.
Yeah.
It sounds like when LSD's coming on, you sort of get that electrical feeling going through your body.
Right, but he's doing it. He's not taking.
Yeah, you guys don't get that regularly. I haven't taken hallucinogens in a decade. I get that every day almost.
You're getting this kind of thing.
Seriously, almost every day. It also happens, like sometimes you'll listen to a good piece of music and it happens for like a second. Like, it'll stay with me for a good 5-10 minutes sometimes. I used to get really freaked out by it, and I asked someone else, and they gave me various answers like Shakti, Bhav, just various things, and they seem to fit in line. But, like, yeah, I totally know what this guy's talking about.
Uh-huh. Well, it's all Kundalini. So it's like, when you take acid, that's what happens too. And it's all good, but it doesn't, it's just another experience. It doesn't mean much at all. And in fact, the less you think about it and the less you chase it, the better off one will be, because ultimately the real transformation is, it all boils down to what His Holiness the Dalai Lama says. Kindness is my only religion. And he'll talk about the fact, by the way, that he doesn't have any super prescient experience or anything like that. He's always saying that. And meanwhile, he's the most compassionate living human being example. Okay? And and he's there are, like the Karmapa, I'm talking a little esoteric, there's a guy named the Karmapa who is the second highest Lama to the Dalai Lama. And the Karmapa, who a bunch of us met, who died in the 80s, his successor is now alive, he was a prescient being. He was completely, he could appear in 2 places, he could heal the dead, all of those kind of miraculous things that there are certain very small number of individuals who have lived over the last couple of 100 years that come publicly. He could do that. So His Holiness says, I can't do that, I am not that. And meanwhile, he's the kindest, most compassionate, loving. So experiences like that are going to give you powers and so on, they don't mean shit.
But is everything about meaning? That's the question. Is it all about meaning, Raghu? Maybe, like when you go to see an X-Men.
Only if you chased it.
But, so, so much of life is, like when you see otters playing and they're going down the river bank into the river, what is that for? They're playing. So in the same way, the Kundalini energies, that weird vibration, also happens during sex, orgasm. It's all the same thing. But I know you're not like in the grand scheme of things, you're not supposed to pursue that stuff. I just had this brilliant guy on the podcast yesterday named Jason Louv, who is now all he does is what you're talking about, Raghu. He meditates, he practices Raja Yoga, meditates, but before that he was really into Western mysticism and into, magic, ceremonial magic, the occult, stuff like that. He said the exact same thing that you're saying, which is that ultimately it just distracts you. But what I keep thinking is right, but isn't distraction worthy? Isn't distraction as worthy as anything else?
Yeah, it can't be a judgment. You're absolutely right. And if I said it in any judgmental fashion, I can be really judgmental, so that's a problem.
That's a big shock.
I didn't think it was judgmental. It's people who've been practicing for a really long time. It's just you said the exact same thing somebody else said who more than likely has done he's studied under I don't know if you know who Genesis P. Orridge is, but
no,
you know him.
Genesis started this band called Throbbing Gristle and had basically a kind of magical cult back in the 80s called Psychic TV. And so they were really into this stuff, like orgies, bloodletting, just pure sense gratification to generate magical powers.
Yeah.
And anyway, he was saying, ultimately you get confused and believe it's real, and then you get lost in this maze of yourself.
Right.
And now he just meditates every day.
Let me ask you this, because this is what I started doing once it became kind of like a regular phenomenon for me. At a certain point, and I will say this, the first few years this happened, I would get completely fascinated and overwhelmed by it. When you're on a psychedelic, you tend to do that anyway, but I'm talking like just randomly throughout the day, and there were periods where it wouldn't happen that much, but what I started doing, especially while meditating, is I try to offer it up. So I actually use Neem Karoli Baba Maharaji, and I always say, you can take this, whatever, because it feels really good. It's like a euphoric feeling. So I just offer it up to something that's not myself, or extend it into like a general gratitude feeling, which is kind of a way of twisting it so you don't get distracted. Because this has been with me for a substantial period of time, so I do that too.
I didn't know. This is the first time I knew this about you.
Yeah, I used to. I mean, there was a period of time where I was very open about all this stuff, and I think it scared a fair number of people. I was too open, I would say. I didn't have awareness of how.
You have no friends anymore?
Yeah, some of the relationships with people I had when this originally started happening have been strengthened a lot, and some of them have completely fallen by the wayside. It was
that seems normal. Now, in India, of course, they would say you do not share that with anyone except your preceptor. Internal experiences. But Duncan, back to your question though, and listen. One cannot judge anything. There is a flow, and people, if they're going to get stuck in enjoying that for a lifetime even, that's fine. I guess if it gets to the point where there's any kind of suffering, or you're asking a question, if you're asking a question or there's some kind of suffering, maybe there's a dawning of some thought where you would go, maybe this is in a way distracting me and pulling me to one side or another. And I personally know people who've been practicing, for a long, long time, and because they started having really incredible ecstatic experiences, they followed those strongly, and the next thing you knew, they were really off into a world which became somewhat destructive for them, and there's people in our milieu, who I won't mention names, who are particular to that. So. All right, next question.
All right, let's see what we got here. We have a lot of questions. I'm pretty surprised. All right, so here we go.
Guys, I'm sorry. I do have to. My dogs are gonna pee on the floor. I have to go. I didn't expect it to be a podcast. So I'm gonna leave the audience in the masterful hands of these three spiritual geniuses.
Why can't they just go out in the on the yard?
Carry the computer around with you while your dogs take a shit.
I'm sorry, I didn't realize this would go on that long because I walk the dogs and then go to breakfast, and that's all right. This worked though. Successful test, right? This is a clear word.
People out there on every word.
I'm gonna leave this with the Mind Rolling podcast. I'll see you guys soon. We'll do this again. We should do this all the time. It's so easy. Thank you, Noah.
Yeah, my pleasure.
Bye.
All right, guys.
All right.
No, it's just got it.
What?
Are we answering another question, or are we saying
Yeah, we'll answer another question.
We'll answer another question. Okay, all right.
You have a bad sound going on. If you had headphones, you'd hear it.
You gotta do something.
All right, I gotta fix that.
Oh, it's better when you're not that close to it.
Yeah. So there's some kind of.
No, it's my mic. I'm too close to it.
Still there.
How about now?
Still there.
How about now?
Can't hear you now.
How about now?
Better.
Yeah.
Better?
Yeah, but you don't.
How about now?
No, you got the buzz. So
just
take the mic out. Just use the computer.
I'll take the mic out.
Okay, now you got to turn yourself on.
Now you're
muted.
just miming, lip syncing.
How about now?
Yeah, okay, now you're good.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, here's the next question. That was fun. We didn't lose any viewers. We still have 50, too.
Yeah,
All right. That's love.
All right, here's the next question. I feel like I lose faith in humanity every morning I wake up. I don't hate people, but hate what they do. Any methods to combat my anger?
Okay.
Well, that's a really good question, because we all. I mean, I'm kind of person that watches television at 6 o'clock in the morning after I meditate, and by 6:30 I'm truly fucked, because I'm looking at NRA people. I'm looking at people who think that shooting people is okay, having guns is fine. All this nonsense, all this absolute errant, imbecilic nonsense that our world seems. So it's a good question. How do you not get angry at that? Well, it doesn't help to get angry. I mean, that's a simple answer. I mean, you getting angry doesn't actually stop them from doing what they're doing. So it's a pretty cliched answer, but loving thine enemies, at least not hating them, will allow you the energy to remain equanimous, if you like, and become a better contributor to the debate. Because it is a debate, at least, I think so. And, you know, when I get angry, which I do rarely, but when I do, I get ill. It never doesn't happen. If I get angry, I feel sick very soon afterwards. I'm unable to be of any contribution to anybody else's welfare, and also my own. So I think getting angry is only good in the sense that it inspires you to social activism. But if it actually inspires you to want to, you know, eradicate those people. Because, I mean, people say all the time on the internet, which is full of lunatics, you know, and that is judgment, and I'm proud of it. You know, like, for instance, I'll give you an example. When this current lunatic, or not the newest one, but last week's lunatic, killed people in Santa Barbara, the father of one of the young men that had been killed went on television. Some of you saw it, I think. Cried on television, and then pointed his finger at the NRA and said, "You are responsible. You are responsible for this, for your irresponsible, stupid actions of encouraging people to acquire as many weapons which are used to kill people as possible." And I'm pointing the finger at you, and the father also said, while he's crying, he said, "And don't call me and say you're sorry. I don't give a shit whether you're sorry about my son being killed. Do something." Okay. I tweeted something about this. The first response I got was someone insulting me. And then I looked at his tweet thing, and what I saw was, this guy, the father of the shot kid, is a big whiner. And who is he to criticize the NRA, which got nothing to do with it? I just went ballistic. First of all, I muted him forever. I don't want to have a debate with anybody with that kind of mind, because he was actually denigrating a father lamenting a murder of his son by someone who was mentally unstable, who has managed to get an automatic weapon. Who is this person? You know, who is this person? Now, after a few minutes, I decided not to get angry, just to not respond any more to that person and to leave him out of my life and to continue with my wonderful, beneficent personality.
And by the way, one other simple, direct antidote to that is to actually take a few breaths so you can actually think that something can change. So you like actually have intention that you don't want to stay in that state. Take a few breaths into your chest, get yourself out of your head for a second, and then just think about how horrible the incarnations of these people who are causing so much suffering, and meditate on compassion, which is, this is a well-known Buddhist method. So try that.
Good answers. All right, so there's another question we have. It is, I do not consider myself a person of many passions in the usual sense of the word, and I like to appreciate the beauty in various topics and acts that I see. What is your advice for a young person who is interested in many things to find his passion?
That's a good question.
That is a very new question. Like that very much. The question being, Noah, that how do you find your passion?
Yeah, I think he's asking, you know, people can be interested and appreciate a lot of things, but sometimes they don't necessarily feel that that gives them direction and something like solid to pursue. So I think he's wondering how you figure out what you want to pursue as your passion. Because I think a lot of people say, like, you gotta love what you do, and then people are like, I don't know. I know people are like this, who they don't know what they love. They like a lot of things, and but they haven't like opened up to what they really want to do and love. I think that's kind of what he's asking.
Mm-hmm. You know, my own experience thinking back, shit, I loved music so much. It totally changed my life. So I was always gravitating towards something in that area. And then for me, it just switched into communications. Like I wanted to communicate somehow. So how did I come to that? I was just so depressed about everything, you know, the culture, the politics, everything that was going on. There's, you know, Vietnam era. So it was like I was pushed into something that would make me feel good, make me feel like connected to something. I think, so as far as passion, you know, what is it that maybe makes you feel connected to this universe, this world? What are we doing? You know, like you start asking, what are we doing here? What is, you know, and once you start asking those questions, you might start to open up and gravitate towards that something which is going to give you some kind of satisfaction and fulfillment. So maybe you know, dealing with the big questions in life might help connect you with a passion. No?
Yeah.
You like that?
Well, it's a very somewhat exalted answer, you know. On a less brilliant level, I would say.
Oh.
No, I'm going to give a less brilliant answer.
Yeah, good.
Just that, you know, a lot of people, I know Noah and Raga and myself, have certain passion. Maybe it's slightly different for sports, for various sports. And we get excited when we see a really incredible thing going on. Now, the question is entertainment ever worthy of passion? Or is it better to actually learn how to play tennis and play it yourself, or whatever it is? Now, in my case, I'm passionate about association football, soccer, as we call it wrongly in this country. But I couldn't play it for the life of me. I was scared to the protection. And when I did play, they kicked me in the head, and it's the most dangerous game because there is no protection. So I decided instead of that, I would just become interested in it and follow it and become an expert on it, which I sort of am. And so that's vicarious passion. Nothing wrong with it, as long as it doesn't make you crazy. See, we all know, it's not that difficult to ascertain that some people get so crazed behind things. And in soccer, a very good example is the horrendous hooliganism that developed in Europe in the 1980s, when people would hurt people, you know. And that's not passion. That is just, you know, misplaced energy and extremely harmful to other people. Why should someone go to a game and get hit? You know, so you gotta really be, I guess, discriminating about where you put that passion and walk the middle way in a way, so that you don't get too crazy. You know, And but Raghu was saying passion for music.
No, what I'm really saying is passion for fulfillment.
Yeah.
I think that's what he's talking about. What do I do in this life that I can be passionate about? Right. Not what are my different passionate things I can have fun with as hobbies.
Right.
So I go back to asking the big questions in life that might help connect you with passion.
But some people get tremendous joy out of what you're calling hobbies. I wouldn't derogate them by calling them hobbies. I think they have every right to be passionate about the Foo Fighters or about whatever, because who's to say that that person isn't reaching a state of real happiness? What are we after here? Are we after words? Or
that's an important distinction too. I mean, I'm extremely passionate about the Miami Dolphins, but I never, like you said, I never thought I could play, or I never really even pursued working in any capacity in that arena. What clicked for me was helping other people, figuring out what I was good at, how I could apply that, and how it could actually help other people. I think you'll find that a lot of these things, and this may be a little too specific here, but I think maybe this is kind of like what do you do with your life type of question, which involves work. Right. So I think, work, is an interesting thing. It's not always going to be something that's fun, but if you feel fulfillment, which is what Raghu is talking about, I think that's certainly worth pursuing, because you can't let, in my opinion, and it served me wrong when I've done it, if you let pleasure dictate all of your decisions, you can end up in some dicey situations that you didn't see were coming. So I think that there is an important distinction between really liking something, getting a lot of pleasure from it, and then really being passionate and loving something and letting that dictate and guide your decisions. That's kind of what I took away from it. Next question. Let's see what we got here. We have a bunch of questions. Here's one. Do any of you have personal mantras you repeat throughout the day? And if so, how do they help you? From Dan Maureen again.
Well.
Yeah.
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 Yes.
But I'll tell you the story that Krishnadas tells about Krishnadas, who's the chant guy going around the world chanting Hindu mantras. He tells his story all the time. But when we were in India and I was with Neem Karoli Baba, and I wanted exactly what you're talking about. What mantra could I get? And so I figured you got a guru. So I asked him, "Can you tell me how to meditate?" Figuring he'd give me one of those mantras. So what I got was meditate like Christ. When he was nailed to the cross, he was not in pain. He was lost in love with every sentient being. And he went on and on in a couple of different meetings about, how, Christ is all about love, service, and compassion, and that's your meditation, basically. I mean, So there's two levels to having a mantra. One is, there's a mala over, one of those little bead, hand bead things from India, and it keeps you from, whenever you're in discursive thought, you Ram, 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 that's the most simple thing that they teach you in India, that particular mantra. And then, as far as actually, again, activating that so that it means something to somebody else, this is just, it's one of the methods of working on ourselves so that we can get to a point where we're not thinking about ourselves all the time. So certainly that's one useful thing. You have one?
Well, no, I do, but I'm very interested in what you just said, because if you break down the word mantra, mind, tra, various interpretations, but one of them is, transcend the mind, mantra, I guess. And one of the things that I use mantra for is when I get completely lost in thought, as opposed to lost in love, and become convoluted. And I find that mantras really help me fill up my space and eradicate, at least temporarily, this confusion and convolution of thought or anxiety. That's a very simple version of what Raghu just said. I think what Raghu said is a very exalted and wonderful attitude. But for instance, I do the Gayatri and I do the Mrittyunjaya mantras. Gayatri is a magnificent mantra, really talking about meditation and transcendence. The Mrittyunjaya is the defeat of death and fear of death. And, when I was younger, I used to say, well, who's to say these sounds do that? Well, who's to say that I know anything about the great Vedic sages who managed to extrapolate these sounds and say, this will do that? I'm willing to be totally humbled by the ancientness and the pervasiveness of these mantras. And who asked the question, I'm a particularly curmudgeon-y type of person, and mantras have helped me enormously in my life, really. And I would never have thought that, but they do. So I encourage you to. There's a book called oh damn, I forgot the name of it. There is a book with all the mantras in it and all their exact sort of supposed functions.
Find out the name of that book. I want to know the name.
Oh, it's called. It's got mantra in the title, and if you look up mantra on Google, you'll eventually find this book, which is by a scholar, American scholar, Sanskrit scholar.
I mean, you're supposed to be given a mantra by your teacher or guru. I mean, that's what's supposed to happen. Even the mala beads, the rosaries are supposed to be given. You're not supposed to go buy one in the store. Even in India, you're supposed to be given it.
I did that. I bought mala beads from a Tibetan store, and I was never given any mantras, but I used a few. So I did that.
What happened to you?
What happened to me? I'm alive. Everything is so far so good.
Yeah.
Huh?
This is the result of that. That's what is you here now.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So, but certainly, starting with some kind of basic meditation practice before you even think of. I mean, I always advise people to do, instead of mantra, okay, the simplest thing is breath, and that using the breath, and that's vipassana meditation. So if I was to suggest anything, I would suggest you go to SharonSalzberg.com, and Sharon is one of the preeminent Buddhist meditation teachers in this country, and she's got all sorts of tutorials and stuff there, and that'll really get you into a solid place in terms of meditation.
Cool.
Anything else?
One more? We got more questions, but let's do one more.
One more.
Let's go.
Okay, here's a good one. Dustin Lawson asks, what are your opinions on parents treating their children with wrongfully illegal drugs like MDMA and cannabis? Depends how young the children are, I think, is the first question, probably.
Well, wait, there's no answer to that question. Nobody should be giving shit like that to their kids, okay? If they're over 18 and you want to have it in a very sacred place and to get them introduced properly, good.
Well, I don't think that's my point. I don't think they're necessarily saying that these children might be there could be a state where a kid's 19, 20, it's still someone's kid, and they're maybe looking at hosts of antidepressants or, I think this is just kind of opening up. What about some of these illegal drugs? Do they have medicinal benefits? I think is probably the.
Is that the question? Oh.
Well, let's make that the question. I don't think he's saying should you get your child high. They don't have a choice. That's wrong. No.
Kind of what it says.
Wrong. Okay, just wrong, and we won't talk about that. Well, we just did a podcast with this fantastic woman author named Mirabai Starr. And we asked her about psychedelics, and have you done that as part of your transformation? And she goes, well, the first time I did it, I was 13. I didn't know. Somebody put it in the lemonade in a commune, and she got dosed.
Oh.
But it was bad. She was really screwed up. not just for a day or a night, whatever. For months, it made her crazy. She had no idea, and she said, and this woman, you know, is around 50. She said 5 years ago, the person who did it came and told her, I did that. I put acid in the.
Wow.
Leave that, confess after 45 years or whatever. 30 years. As far as they are left and right now showing the good effects of CBNs from marijuana, effective with cancer. You've seen it, there's a child that had, I can't remember what disease that child had, but these CBNs were the only thing that was helping him, and there was an uproar. You're giving your kid pot, and all of that. Post-traumatic stress, they're using, I think, MDMA with that. That's showing success. Roshi Joan Halifax, who knows a lot about that work. Also with people who are past dying, people who are in tremendous pain. I mean, you could go on and on about the value of some of these psychotropic substances. So to me, it's a big positive. But like everything, it can be abused. So everything can be abused. Just marijuana cookies, they got to get that right so that, and you can't leave it in your fridge and the kids go in. My friend, it just happened to him, somebody I won't mention who it is though. He's out on vacation, he brought a couple of cookies with him, and one day he got really sick from nothing to do, they were in South America, and so he was really out of it, didn't see, it was he and his girlfriend with their 2 kids.
Oh man.
And he didn't see, and she didn't see, and these kids were like hungry one night.
Oh, dagger.
And then the next thing you know, they were completely gone. They ate the whole.
Yeah.
So that shit can be harmful. They fortunately came out of it okay. You're like, Dad, what was that?
How old were the kids?
12. So they're on the border of handling something, but not really. I mean, that can be really, really strong. So anyhow, I don't know if that answers that question.
I think that's a good answer.
Yeah.
One more, come on.
One more? Okay, we got one more. So here is a question that I'm having trouble reading because my thing is bugging out. I can't actually read the question, but I know what it said. It was basically saying that Duncan has a newfound appreciation for bicycles. And do either of you have any newfound appreciations in life that have kind of changed your whole view on the world?
Wow,
that is a good question.
Yeah.
Can we have a minute here?
Wow. Duncan has bicycles. He's into
loving the bicycles. He's completely changed his life in many ways. He's been talking about it on every podcast.
The bicycle. Uh-huh.
The bicycle. Albert Hoffman's favorite transportational device.
Right. I've started playing frisbee with my dog. I don't know if it's changed my life completely. Do you have anything?
Yeah, walking fast up steep hills. But I've been doing that for a while. But I recently learned how to do it in the right way, and it's a real good workout. It didn't take that long. And so that's like bicycles, I think, in a way. Because it gets me high.
Yeah, and it's good for you. I mean, it's a thrill.
Yeah.
But
kale. I want to join the kale brigade.
That was great. I know it's like lame to say, but it's really good. You just got to find things you can put it in that you already like. That's the trick. Don't make it its own thing, or you probably won't like it.
Well, I tend to cook it with garlic and slightly. I steam it and then slightly saute it, and eat it like that. It's very nice. It's very nice. And for me, that's a big deal because I'm not a food person particularly.
Well, this could be a food podcast.
Yeah, all covered.
Yeah. But it's a good question.
You know what? It's just thinking about that. Isn't that like when something like that happens and it really does switch some gears on you? It gets you out of some set conditioning, and you know, your usual old habitual life things which you want to break out of. So being open to that, that's a great thing. Thank you, whoever who sent that.
Name is House MMK. So.
House MMK. Okay, unusual, but thanks a lot. Yeah.
Yeah.
So this is a test format as part of our MindPod network that we're creating, which is myself, Raghu Marcus, and Dave Silver from Mindrolling, and Noah Lampert, who is going to be the principal in MindPod and who works with us on all sorts of initiatives and ventures, not the least of which is ramdas.org, which is, if those of you who have been there or who will go there, you will see shortly in a couple of weeks a brand new paradigm that is going to blow everybody away. And then we have Duncan Trussell, who had to run off to get his dogs taken care of, and in the middle of mitten, it's Yiddish for that. And then we also have some of the people who are going to be joining us, of course, Ram Dass and his podcast, and Krishna Das, those of you who don't know him, from the famous chant guy, and Sharon Salzberg, who is one of the most astute and compassionate teachers of Buddhism that we have. And in terms of really how to navigate just being balanced day to day, Sharon is going to be a gigantic addition, as well as her confrère, which is Jack Kornfield. And Jack is just another staggering Buddhist teacher who just, his stories and his poems and his analogies just allow you to dig into your own experience and be able to really transform yourself. So it's going to be a terrific thing. That's MindPod Network. It's going to be at mindpodnetwork.com. And we're looking, hopefully in a month, we'll have this going. So thanks for whoever of you out there were joining us in this very impromptu deal today. And you know, we like this format, so we're going to improve it, and you know, and we can have it's fun, eh? We can have a bunch of people that are talking.
Yeah, we can invite guests, like audience members too, coming up. I saw someone else posted already in the comments section that they really like this, but they're at work, so they want this to be in the more evening hours for people.
Right. Good idea. Yeah. Okay. So thanks everybody, and
good.
See you next week.
Love to meet you.